Alright, so here is a fun fanfiction idea I wanted to throw to you guys, and this was a fun little Avatar one I wanted to have around called the Air Hunters. Now, the Air Hunters, this Avatar fanfiction I had in my, this idea I had was basically an idea of it's set in the Avatar universe, but it's not set in the time, it's not set in the present timeline of Avatar The Last Airbender. It goes way back. Basically what this is a era of Avatar The Last Airbender, where it is set shortly after the genocide of the air nomads. And basically, what this is it's set set around a group of firebenders who are known as the Air Hunters. Air Hunters are a select group of firebenders who have been chosen by Fire Lord Sozin, and later on Fire Lord Azulon, to hunt down and kill any airbenders that escaped the destruction, the genocide of the air nomads. So basically, this idea is like I said, they're kind of like the Inquisitors from Star Wars. They're very much like the Inquisitors. In fact, that's kind of what I base them on, are the Inquisitors. And they go out and hunt or follow any leads of any surviving airbenders. But it's not just airbenders themselves that that they hunt. It's anyone who was a non-bender. You'd have to imagine there were non-benders among the air nomads, much like there's non-benders in the Earth Kingdom and the other kingdoms as well. So any non-airbenders as well, but were air nomads, they're also being marked for death. Anyone who's practicing the ways of the air nomads, or anyone who's even, sells their stuff. Like, the Fire Lord Sozin and his Fire Lord's whole Sozin thing, the Fire Lord's whole thing was, I don't want the airbenders I want them to even be seen as myth, really. Like, I don't want them to spread like a weed or be seen as martyrs, I don't want them, to rally the other nations against me. I don't want that genocide, so I gotta cut that weed out right now. So this centers around a new a firebender who's inducted into the group called Ryok. And Ryok is a young firebender who's very skilled, and he's been tasked to be put part of this group. There's a total of, including Ryok, there are now 7 members, all of them firebenders, and all of them skilled hunters in the Air Nomad group. Fire Nation group, the Air Hunters. So the Air Hunters basically go out on these missions to hunt any airbenders out there, and they do a good job of stopping them. The idea kind of came to me after an old there's actually from the Dark Horse comics, there's a short story of Aang thinking he's found airbenders, some airbenders who survived, and it turns out to be a trap set by Zhao. And Zhao explains that, when the genocide occurred, after the genocide, we used traps like these, like pretending there's air nomads out there, to lure any air nomads who survived here, and we'd wipe them out. So that's one of the plots they do, is pretend to be air nomads, and then lead them into a trap and kill them, or go out and hunt them down. So Ryok at first is like, these guys are the enemy, we're gonna kill them, and we're gonna do great things for the Fire Nation, because he's been kind of fed that propaganda of the air nomads were an army that were the biggest threat to Fire Lord Sozin, so he wiped them out, and after Sozin died, his son Azulon is now in charge. Yes, I know it's weird that, Azulon, I know some people are going to be like, well, wait, how is this, Azulon is his great-grandson. No, it's his son. Azulon is Sozin's son. I know it's been in contention, but even the creator said, Azulon is Sozin's son. So Azulon, who's younger at this point, is still carrying on his father's will of hunting any airbenders out there. Or anyone from the air nomad race. So he's hunted, as they continue to wipe out any and all forces, any and all mention of the air nomads and whatnot, Ryok comes across a young woman who is not a airbender, but she is from the air nomad clan. She is from one of the air nomad temples. And while she's not a airbender, she is a capable fighter. She actually has this technique called, that the air nomads call the air dancer. the wind dancer attack, the wind dancer moves. And wind dancing is basically these acrobatic movements along with certain chi blocking. You can probably guess where this is going. So yeah. So yes, in this story, chi blocking comes from the air nomads. And this young girl whose name is Lao May. Lao May is this young woman who is an air dancer, a wind dancer, excuse me, and she basically survived the eradication. Her parents managed to smuggle her out thanks to a Earth Kingdom family who took her in and raised her as their own. They managed to escape, but they knew they were going to get hunted down. In fact, the air hunters found the parents, but before the air hunters found them, they gave the kid to an Earth Kingdom family, and they raised her, and hence why we're here now. So the Earth Kingdom family is under investigation because there have been reports of someone who is using air nomad movements. So that's where this is where the story is, and Ryok is kind of realizing, maybe we're the bad guys. I think I'm a bad person, guys. And I did have a few ideas for the other members of the Air Hunters. One is Basha. And Basha is this big, burly girl. She's actually inspired by Jasper and the Ninth Sister from Star Wars. The Ninth Sister being one of the Inquisitors. She showed up first in the Marvel Vader comics, but you guys would know her best as one of the boss fights in Jedi Fallen Order. So yeah, she's based off of, Ninth Sister and a little bit of Jasper. She's this big, burly firebender woman. And then there was, what were the other names? Oh, there was Rinjin. Rinjin was a lightning bender. He was capable of creating lightning. He was also a complete psychopath, because more or less when he was trying to learn the ways to redirect lightning, the lightning went through his brain and fried it, so now he's a complete psychopath. He's kind of like Carnage if he had Raiden's powers. Yeah, imagine that. Raiden, Carnage with the powers of Raiden or Electro. So that's what Rinjin is like. Then there's Yuki. Yuki, who was another woman who was... Actually, she's half water tribe, because her father raped a water tribe woman, gave birth to her, and she's not a waterbender, but she does use firebending like a waterbender. So her movements are waterbender, but she does bend fire. Then there was the leader of the group, who is I'm trying to remember the name. I should have written these down, honestly. How I feel like I should write these names down before I do anything, but yeah. Kaizen, that's it. Kaizen is the leader of the group, and he is this prolific firebender who is ranked as one of the best benders in the world. Not just best firebender, but one of the best benders in the world. And he is this ruthless, almost like Arkillo kind of character. Arkillo from the Sinestro Corps. So, Ryok is, torn between saving this girl and following his group, following his team. But eventually he leaves with the young woman, hides out with her, but, they eventually get found out, and he fights the other 6, and he dies, but she survives with their child, who later grows up to be a lovely young woman, marries a Fire Nation nobleman. She manages to hide in the Fire Nation, marries a Fire Nation nobleman, and has 7 daughters. All of them with the name Tai at the beginning. Yeah, this is this is the origin story of Tai Li. And essentially, Tai Li and her family, her grandmother, who is the woman Ryok fell in love with, taught all of the 7 daughters to use the airwalking technique. And by then, people were like, oh, it's just a circus act. That's what it is. It's like, oh, it's just this clever little circus move she's doing. So isn't that neat? They didn't even think, because all of the air nomad stuff had been destroyed by the air hunters. And so they didn't even think, like, oh, this is an airbending move. Because all of those documents have been destroyed, so they didn't think about it as like, oh, it's just a neat little, it's circus performing. So, yeah, they didn't even think about that. And as for the air hunters themselves, they continued until they were finally disbanded after it was proclaimed, yeah, the airbenders are all gone. They're actually disbanded by Ozai, who was like, they're fucking dead. Why are you... And, and I would have it that the air hunters had been... Because obviously, they'd all be pretty fucking old. But they had been replaced constantly. They had been replaced the team had been replaced, or other characters died or retired, until eventually when Ozai took the throne, he's like, this shit's dumb. It's there's no more airbenders. Bye. So, yeah. Anyway, so there you go, guys. That is pretty much my idea for this Avatar story. You guys tell me in the comments below. Did you guys like it, hate it? Just comment below and let me know. And once again, I'm Mr. Multiverse, and I'll see you next time in the multiverse.